Hello, my name is Aubrey Fowler, and this is my presentation on my research done for EDCI 504. I did my research on high-stakes testing of English language learners because right now I'm working at an international American school in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Now, the vast majority of our student population are English language learners, meaning that at home they do not speak English. Most of our students speak Vietnamese at home. However, we do have a number of students that speak a variety of other languages, such as French, Spanish, and even Farsi. So our population of students very much meets this criteria for ELLs. And because we are an American school, we also need to be testing our students in a standardized manner, as all American schools do, because we are currently trying to become WASC accredited. However, when most research contends that ELLs need 3 to 5 years to acquire English at reasonable levels and 4 to 7 years to acquire academic English proficiency, it's unclear why they're being tested with English language tests. And so, that leads me to the purpose of my research. The purpose of this research study is to determine accurate methods for assessing English language learners in a standardized manner for content in English, in order to be able to appropriately compare them to their English-speaking peers. And the two research questions that I had are: number one, are utilizing accommodations an appropriate way to test ELLs in a standardized testing situation if the goal is to accurately show their content knowledge compared to their English-speaking peers? And if so, what accommodations are most effective? My second question was, is it appropriate to test ELLs using a content test in their native language in order to accurately compare them to their English-speaking counterparts? And if this is appropriate, and an accurately aligned native language test is not available, what is the best alternative? Now, in doing my research and my literature review, I came across two problems in all of my research. There's a problem with validity and there's a problem with reliability when we are looking at testing ELLs in a standardized testing situation using English language tests. Student language background variables should always be included, and efforts should be made to reduce confounding effects of language background on the assessment outcomes. We can't just throw our English language learners into a standardized English test and expect them to be able to show any appropriate source of knowledge if they have not been properly schooled in English already. In America, our best option usually is to accommodate students. But accommodations, though they may be the student's best chance to succeed, are not, however, a cure-all. As standardized tests are not designed for ELL students, simply accommodating them does not cause the test to become valid. If we want to have a valid and reliable test for ELL students, then that test needs to have been normed for ELL students. And not just any ELL students, but for ELL students from a particular cultural background. All are going to have very particular needs. So if standardized tests to measure content knowledge are going to be considered valid, then they must be administered in the language in which the student has first learned the content. However, this is a very difficult task for teachers and schools because simply translating a test does not address the issue of norming and therefore does not address the validity issues. And unfortunately, it's near impossible to create tests that are normed for each demographic required to take it in their native language. This leaves us with many problems. We need to have data on all of our students. However, we have very many students speaking very many languages from quite a few cultures. What are we supposed to do to help them to show their learning, to show the content that they understand? And so the conclusions I came up with are as follows. If possible, do not include ELLs in standardized tests until they have been receiving instruction in English for at least 3 years. Currently in America, this simply is just not possible. However, I'm working in an American school, abroad, and therefore this is something that we could potentially do. And I do plan on using my research and my conclusions to present this option to our ESL instructors along with administration to request that we wait for students to have been in our school for 3 years or in another American school for 3 years before we ask them to take standardized tests in English. However, as we all know, this is often not an option, so the best thing that we can do for students is to prepare them for the test. If you as a teacher know what the test is, you know all the parts, you know what to expect for the test, then you can present that to the students and help scaffold and get them ready for the test to the best of your ability. Also, teachers need to know the accommodations that are available to their students. Are the students allowed to have extra time? Simply giving them that extra 30 minutes or an hour on a section might allow them to be able to better translate and understand the parts of the test. Do they need to have the test read to them? But really, the teachers need to know these accommodations and need to request them and try and get these accommodations for students in which it's necessary. But really, in the end, the best way to accurately show a student's abilities in the content areas is through performance assessments and portfolios. This is not an easy option. It's very time consuming, and it does require quite a bit of work on the part of the teachers to show what a student has learned through a portfolio and assessment. It also requires standardization on portfolio rubrics and requirements across grade levels and across different classrooms, which can be quite a bit of work. However, if the school truly wants to show what all of their students know in the content areas, simply testing ELLs is not going to show that. It's going to cause your data to be skewed, and it is not going to be helpful. So if we want to show what ELL students truly are capable of before they are ready for a standardized test, portfolios really are our best option. Here are a list of my references if anybody is interested in them. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate any feedback, questions, or comments that you have.